Okay, we're trying to plan where to put the greenhouse, and it looks like it's going to be where those two sticks are laying in that direction, and the opening on this end. We'll be adding to our burn pile. Won't be long. We've already thrown some bags, empty bags in there. Okay, I'm going to wet this down right here, right now, and get some of this peat moss wet to put in the starter trays, because I have some seeds I want to start. And as you can see, peat moss is really hard to wet. Once it's wet, it stays wet for quite a while. But it's difficult to actually get it to soak up water. Best way to do it is in a tub, but I just do it in the bag. And when you stir this up, you see the dryness. It's just very dry. And you get you a good amount that's wet, and you fill your trays. Once you fill your trays, you want to run some water over them, make sure they're good and moist, and wait a little bit, let that soak in, and do it again. Get them really good and moist, because the seeds need the moisture to germinate. And we'll be putting a dome over these to keep the moisture in, which is handy to have. If you don't have a good tray like this, I was doing soil blocking, but I want to tell you something. It's a pain. It really is a pain, and it's just a lot of work, and you don't really get that much out of it. I haven't seen a difference in the plants that I started. Matter of fact, I've seen better results in trays than I have with soil blocking. So go to Haas Tools. Haas Tools has these indestructible thick trays. These things are like Rubbermaid. I mean, they're really well made, and they have the bottom tray that goes under it and the domes. They have kits where you can get, you know, the whole 9 yards, and it's fairly reasonable when you think about how many years you'll be able to use them, because I've had mine for 2 years now, and they're still rocking it and doing just fine. So go to Haas Tools. It's H-O-S-S Tools, and they also have garden seeds, and their seeds are really good. They germinate really well. I've never had a problem with them. So go to Haas Tools. Speaking of Haas Tools, that's what I'm going to be using. I have these peppers, Tabasco peppers, and I didn't get them in this year, and I want to go ahead and plant some and get them started. And with the heat, they'll do really well. They'll grow and take off in a flash. So go to Haas Tools. Just lay the seeds on the medium, which is peat moss and water. They need to go in 1/4 of an inch. So I'm just going to use this little placard to kind of scruff them in there. Getting down in there. This thing's kind of hard to manipulate. It wants to bend. It doesn't want to push the seeds. And you'll have all kinds of things like that happen. It's just part of gardening. It makes it fun. You have to be smarter than the plastic, I guess. So put them down in there. I hope I have this on it, because I'm watching myself instead of watching. I just had an ant crawl on my foot instead of watching through the viewfinder. I'm watching with my eyes. It's always a good thing, right? Make a little hole and just stuff them down in there. Alright, and be sure to put your placard. Now, peppers can grow 2 peppers to a start. In other words, you can plant 2 peppers together and they'll do just fine. It'll double your harvest. And it also saves a little space. I've been doing it for years. Gary at the Rusted Gardener has been doing it for years, and it just makes sense. So, get those in, and now we're ready to plant something else. Okay, now I'm going to put some sage in. And they are tiny little seeds. These are from Annie's, I think they're from Annie's. I don't know if you can see that, but they're from Annie's. So let's put a couple of sage seeds in here. Oh, tiny dudes. They're not too tiny. Jump over there. Not allowed. And these have to go in 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch. I'll put a few more in. And then when they come up, I'll probably separate them, or I could just put them all together. It'll all work out. Alright. So these go in 1/4 to 1/8 of an inch. So I'm just going to smush them down with my fingernail and just cover that up slightly like that. Pat it down. Not too tight. You don't want to smash them. But get them down in there. And you could also add some more peat moss to the top, which works out really good. I just do a dusting on top of them and then hose it again. Just don't hose it hard or they'll mess up your seeds. You don't want to dislodge your seeds. But with that dome on here, it'll keep the moisture in. So, got those done. Bear with me, I'll get another pack of seeds and we'll work on something else. Let's work on something big. Let's work on, these are from Sustainable Seeds, and these are summer squash, dark green zucchini. They take 40 to 49 days. It's a hot weather plant, and I like zucchini bread and zucchini fritters and all that neat stuff, so. Okay. These have to go in quite a ways. They go in, let's see what it says. 1 inch deep in hills. Now, of course, your starter is not a hill, but when you plant it, you can make your hills. And it'll work out real good. Look at that seed. Wow, that's big. It's going to be a nice, big, juicy one. I dropped a seed out front. I'll have to videotape it. I was planting in a bucket a zucchini, and I accidentally dropped the seed, and it was in gravel, and I couldn't find it. Okay, it went between the gravel. I could not find it. There was no way. It grew. It's doing great. It's doing better than my zucchini that I took time to plant. Make your placard. So you want to make your marker. I'm just going to stick it here, and I know the rest of them are zucchinis. And this is an Artline garden marker. These are really good. These are nicely pointed. It's a magic marker that doesn't wash off when you water your plants. I'm going to use the back end of this to push my seeds down. And then I'll put more stuff on top of them. Actually, I'm going to poke the hole and drop the seed down in there instead of smushing the seed. We'll see if that one comes up, right? Always an indication. Hey, it doesn't matter if you're an old gardener or a new gardener. You'll do things that you'll think, oh man, that'll never grow. And it'll grow, and it'll just make you wonder why you didn't do it sooner. But I like freezing the zucchini. I like to shred it up and freeze it in freezer bags. Or dehydrate it. I've done that too. And you can use it in stews, you can use it in soups, you can use it in zucchini bread. It's just really nice to have, especially dehydrated, because it'll last forever. I'm talking like 25 years in a vacuum sealed jar, which is what I do. If I want something for long term, it's jars. If I'm going to use it within a year or so, I'll use Mylar bags or plain old plastic bags. As long as they hold a vacuum seal, it doesn't matter. But the bags, you know, critters can get into them and things like that. A glass jar, not so much. So I don't have critters, but if I did, I wouldn't want them eating up my stuff. They'll do that, and they'll do it when you least expect it. You don't have bugs, you don't have mice, you don't have anything, you have cats and all this, right? And you're doing great, you're cruising along, and you go in your pantry one day and you see macaroni noodles. It's like, what are these doing on the floor? And then you see little black things and little droppings, and you get to looking around and you find the macaroni, and there's where the mice have been. And they've been coming in and out and eating your stuff. So you end up having to throw it away. Thank goodness it was only macaroni. That was my experience. And my cat had died, and I hadn't replaced her. I learned real quick, if a cat dies, replace it. If you have a house cat And that house cat is keeping all the critters away. Yeah, get another house cat. And females seem to be the hunters. Males, not so much. I have 2 males and 2 female cats inside. And we use scoop away litter. And you'd never know we have cats. It disguises it. Actually, it just absorbs it, I guess. Because we never smell it. And we change it out, frequently, so we don't have a problem. So that's that part. Now I get to unfasten the camera from this holder thing that I've got you in and go up front where my cold frame is and get the bottom tray and all that neat stuff. Now if I can get the camera out, yeah, right. This is not in my favor here. I can't reach the button. I can't turn it off. Oh no. It doesn't recognize me as a human. Okay. Okay. Did the great walk up front. Got the bottom tray. I'm going to slip this in the bottom tray. And the humidity dome is going on top. My placards aren't too tall, and that one is. So, what you do there is either break it off or cut it off. I'm going to have to cut it off because it's not breaking. There we go. That works. That puts it down there. All right. So that's set. I can move it aside. Now for the next victim. Well, as you can see, I still have plants in it that I haven't planted yet, which I'm working on. So, be back in a bit. Okay, so I dropped all those little plants in the starter tray into this wash tub to give them a little more time to grow. And this has potting mix in it, which is, I did get Miracle Grow, which I don't normally do, but they were out of this stuff. And I went ahead and picked up a bag. And it's got fertilizer in it to last 6 months, so hopefully that'll get them going, up and going. And now my starter tray is empty, so I can go ahead and fill that up and put the dome on and get some more seeds going. Well, I came outside and look what I found. Guess what we have? We have a mole, or a vole, or a gopher. I don't think it's a gopher, I think it's a mole. And he has eaten some of the landscape fabric, as you can see where it's shredded, because I melt holes like, holes, and they have a nice clean edge. This guy has brutally broken through here and killed my flowers that were in these holes. So I put some poison peanuts in, and I'll cover him up. That's one of the evils that you have to deal with when you're gardening. It's a true evil. But at least he didn't get those. And at least he didn't get those yet. So, look at the pretty blooms. Nice. The geraniums are kicking it. They're liking the heat. And so is the delphiniums. Sweet Williams. I have blooms on my tomatoes. They're doing really well. Lots of blooms. Lots more blooms in here. And if you'll notice, the main stem comes up, okay? There's a leaf here, and in between the main stem and the leaf is a sucker. This sucker will be nice to clone. You just cut it off, stick it in some water, or you can put some root tone on it and stick it right in the ground, and it'll take root, and you'll have a plant that's 2.5 feet tall. So if it's too late to plant seeds, you can clone your tomatoes, your favorite tomato plants, and it works out real good. So it's time for me to get busy and start watering some of the things that need watered, like those poor bananas that look like they need some nitrogen. I'll have to do that too. All right, that's it for right now. Reconstruction of the greenhouse has begun. Sherry's got the framework up. Well, I went ahead and planted some pelleted carrot seeds in these 2 containers. I don't have much luck with them in the ground here because our ground is so hard. It just compacts and they don't do well. They can't grow. And this is the tomato plant that had the sucker that came up right here. And I took the sucker off and put it in some wet soil. And that's been hours ago that I did that, so it's doing good. It didn't even wilt. I took 2 lower leaves off of it, and I packed it in good, really wet it down. So we'll see how it does. Usually they do real good. Once in a while, you'll get one that just doesn't want to live. That's okay. There's more where that came from, right? So you just keep tooling along. The okra I planted the other day is popping up. Each one. They're coming up just fine. This is a Sweet 100 cherry tomato, and it popped up today. Zucchini's looking good. Watermelons are looking good. They're starting to vine this away, and I want them to go that away. So I'm going to have to turn them around. Whatever it takes. This is a fir, fir tree tomato or something like that. Silver fir, that's what it is. A silver fir tomato plant. That's doing pretty good. And I have another one right over here. Oh, I have a couple of them over here. There and there. I got the seeds from my gardener, and the first pack of seeds only had 3 seeds in it. It's supposed to have 10. So I let them know, and they sent me another pack. And it had exactly 10 seeds in it. So I got 3 of them or more to germinate and put them out. You can see this stuff is just loving the shade cloth. It keeps the super hot heat off of them. This is a sunflower coming up right here. And tomatoes and tomatoes and more tomatoes and some cucumbers down there and some cucumbers over here. And tomato and tomato. I don't even want to count how many tomatoes I have because I'm going to suffer when it comes time for harvest. And I don't want to, agitate myself. You know, if I knew I planted 50 tomato plants, I'd be kicking myself saying, why did you do that? But I think I planted more than that, so I don't want to count them. These were those little 1-inch tall tomatoes that I videoed last week. And they're popping up. And there's some more over there. They're doing really good. Malabar spinach is looking good. And behind that, I think it's spinach. My daughter planted it. Oh. Okay. Sorry about that. I pressed the off button. So there's tomatoes, spinach, spinach. And then there's some cucumbers and some beans. That was an accident. I forgot that I planted the beans, and I was thinking, oh, I need to plant something there. So I planted cucumbers, and they came up all at the same time. So they're going to have to live in peace, and I'll just have to fertilize a little more. Over here are my peppers. They're doing really good. And there's an okra at the end of this row right there. And a sweet pepper. And a tomato and a tomato. And these were really tiny. Tomato and a tomato. And this one decided to grow. And peppers on this side. And flowers coming up. Lots and lots of little flowers in between. That gives me a little space in between. You plant some flowers, and that way you've filled the void. I see a lot of creeping Virginia, which I am allergic to, just like poison ivy, back in there. So I have to be careful, but I planted flowers in those holes back there. And over here I planted some lupines. I see one's coming up. The other two haven't, or other one hasn't. Unless those two in front of it are lupines, I'm not sure. Again, I didn't label them. My bad. Beans, and something has eaten a bean plant. I have to replant that one. Actually, I need to plant a bunch of them along there. Tomatoes, tomatoes, more flowers, and some basil coming up. And tomatoes, 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 and more basil, and some peppers. And I have nasturtiums coming up here and here. They just started popping up. Watered and fertilized the onions. So they're bulbing up, looking good. This potato bed is starting to die back, so we'll be digging potatoes before long. Rolling out the greenhouse floor. So we've got 3 rows of fabric to put on the floor. I've got stumps in here that'll be inside the greenhouse that I can use to set things on. And it'll work out quite nice. I think it will. Bad thing is these greenhouses get too cold in the winter time, so growing winter crops is kind of out of the question unless you put a heater in. And I did that one year, and I'm not paying that electric bill again. So that's it for right now. So be sure to share the video, hit that thumbs up. It helps with the algorithms, and more people are able to see my videos, and it kind of moves it up towards the top. And subscribe if you haven't. And that's it from Dowell's Homestead, other than I'm going to show you something. This right here is lacticarium. It's wild lettuce, and they call it poor man's opium. It has a secretion that's like a white, sappy secretion when you break the stalk or break the leaves. And I think it's in August that you harvest it. And then you can look on YouTube, and there's videos on how to process it to turn it into a medicine. But it's supposed to be a great pain reliever. So like to carry them. This one's been broken off a few times accidentally. So that's it. Bye for now. Well, at the beginning of the video, I said I had dropped a seed in the gravel, and it grew. And this is it. And it's blooming. It's got a zucchini on it down in there. If you can see that, if I can get it in there, there is a zucchini growing on it. But this is, besides tree debris, when you get under here, it's gravel. It's part of the driveway. It's in the front of the house, and it's hard as a rock. I mean, oh, that's the little thing that goes to my green stalk. I wonder what happened to that. It's just gravel in here, and you can't dig it. So I put things in buckets out here and grow things like butternut squash. But yeah, I dropped a seed, and it is doing phenomenal. So there it is. Isn't that something? All right, guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.